Well, hello everyone. We have made it to Friday to begin a weekend, 16th of May. Cheers, everybody. It's early, but I'm up. I've already checked out Mr. Dawson for the week because that's part of my routine on Thursdays. It's um, the record store down in Phoenix was in Groove, yeah. So I see Mike showing that new cheaper than cheap Frank Zappa. We'll see what the price is like when they get it in Omaha because I have all of Frank Zappa's main discography, and I'm a fan, but depends on that price. I don't have to have everything. Good to see Mr. Dawson though, showing those good records. He always shows records. A lot of the records he shows, I have. We have a lot in in common in that way. Cheers. So it was good to go ahead and do that video where I started to where I showed some favorites because that's how I operate. It's kind of like, I get momentum. So I'm going to do a part 2 today, and it's still, there's more, way more than this. I mean, this is not filler. This is all favorites. And come to find out, I have more deer hoof. I didn't grab them though. I Revilla. Forgotten about that one. And have more. It's a great band. I did listen to that deer hoof that was pink and yellow. I couldn't remember it, and it's an early. Boy, they have really come a long way from their early sound. Long way. What a great band. So anyway, showing the Herbie Hancock contingent. I'm going to continue in that, somewhat in that vein of favorites, because ultimately they all blend together. For me, the Herbie Hancock blends into the Gong, blends into Genesis, blends into Soft Machine, blends into Miles Davis. It really does in my mind. So I want to show some more favorites and just talk about records. So they're not in any order like yesterday. I'm just going to riff because I ended up playing this all the way through last night. Miles Davis, Get Up With It. To me, this is kind of a slippery Miles Davis album. Not one of his best. Interesting to me how this era of his electronic recordings are good, but they also are good at, it's like you're listening to it and it's doing its thing and it's cool and you're into it. But I also find myself thinking and feeling, what next? What could have happened or what could happen? It's like a lot of these things are. And again, thanks for the Kraftwerk T-shirt. I think it's Gunnar. I think, but it sets up like a template for things that can happen, which in many ways did. It's like people took the ideas of this jam and extended it. I like that album. I also like how Miles Davis, he would just hint at things with what he would play. It's like he would do a lot of little same things over and over again, but it's when he would do them in the music that would, man was a genius. The other record that I played of the bunch that I'm showing last night was this, because I hadn't played this one in so long. Stanley Clarke, School Days. And this is cool. This is good. Stanley Clarke's bass playing, I always thought was kind of more show-offy than I care for. He's good, obviously, and he's through his technique, he has, I think, made bass playing better, and I give him credit for that. Love the fact I saw him play twice, yeah. But yeah, the other thing I want to remark about is this time period, mid-70s. This was 1976. Fusion and McLaughlin kind of exploded at the beginning of the 70s. And so the 70s, to me, was, I really enjoyed the music of the 70s. So, there's detractors of every era of music. I love the 70s. And I loved how this music was approaching the same status as rock music at that time. Rock music was king at that time. And this was being presented in the same way, and it was successful. And I love how at this time, the focus was still on playing, skill, and inventiveness. I love hearing all the musicians playing their butts off and trying different things. I think it's interesting that on side 2 here, I really enjoyed listening to this. He does Desert Song with John McLaughlin on acoustic guitar. And I bet you McLaughlin did this on purpose. Stanley Clarke sets the tune up so that Stanley does some of that, that he does really well. Almost like a challenge to McLaughlin. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Because, McLaughlin was a speed freak. But not for the sake of speed. It was him trying to express something. And McLaughlin just dodged it. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to, trade licks with you. So what McLaughlin did when his solo came was he focused on the sculpted frets guitar that he uses and did the Eastern bends thing to great effect. Now I pulled these just I can't, because I only have a few of these. Some artists I'm not going to be complete on showing them, but I just wanted to show. This one I like even better than School Days though. Journey to Love, Stanley Clarke. And this one I think is kind of iffy. Children of Forever, but I have it for the collection. Kind of iffy is what I say. It seems like it's a concept album that doesn't completely keep my interest. I'm just going to keep going, like I said, no order. So I have a ton of Miles Davis because he has a ton of records. Electric Miles is my favorite. A lot of people immediately jump on Jack Johnson. I didn't pull it. I like Jack Johnson, but it's not. These two next, Miles Davis, well, these are the ones that really kill me. On the Corner by Miles Davis. This to me is psychedelic jazz. It's not even jazz. It's just psychedelic. This isn't even really rock. But jazz. It's more rock and funk. Really, it's funk. Urban city. Music of the street. I absolutely love the underneath the double drums on here is Badal Roy on tablas and this drone thing going on. I think this album is brilliant, frankly. On the Corner. One of my absolute favorite Miles Davis albums. And the next one would be this one. I just grabbed both copies. I have an original, Live Evil. This album is so strong that I still remember the actual day my brother James brought this home and put it on at the house for the first time. Incredible artwork by Marty Klarwein. It just blew the tops of our heads off. It's like, what in the world is this? As you all know, there's in particular a couple of parts of here where the jamming is just explosive. Then they recently did this reissue, I didn't particularly care for the color, but I got one anyway. Live Evil. Some of the just most finest music. Hey, if you see this, Guy, it was really neat to hear from you, Guy. Another fellow bass player, Eclectic Maybe Band, Universe Zero. I also love the fact that on that Amoeba What's in My Bag episode that shows the Deep Entries album that I'm on, the next album that the other guy from Refused show was a Universe Zero album with my friend Guy Seggers in Belgium. Hey, Guy. So two people have approached me recently through email about collaborating or remixing, and I just have to follow my gut. I might be wrong, but I'm not interested right now. I'm not interested. So I do think this is an album that almost everyone should hear, if not own. Bitches Brew, absolutely, absolutely. This was a game changer. It really was. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's not overstated the importance of when this happened. Okay, into the 60s. I remember a friend of mine, college days, old friend. We've lost contact, but he lived in a fraternity. He was a rich kid that I went to high school with out at Creighton Prep. I won't say his name, but he had a tricked out dorm room, had a quad stereo, and he had Bitches Brew in quad, and it was an experience in quad. It really was. Yeah, we would do a lot of drugs, pot, coke, speed, whatever. Morning glory seeds. We were crazy. And the Miles Davis in quad stands out as a listening memory back then, those wonderful days. Now, here's another Miles Davis album. I'm just playing favorites. It's not that they have to be any particular genre. It's what the showing those records yesterday unlocked. These are more records that, especially around that music that I've played a lot. Miles Davis Fees de Kilimanjaro. This is another favorite Miles Davis album. Tony Williams is drumming on here, but also the competitions, Félon Brune, Petit Machines, little stuff. Excellent. It was Miles Davis pointing ahead, like they used to say on the records, directions in music by Miles Davis. It's the truth. Again, this is one I think is just killer. One more because I had to include it. I could talk about Miles for quite a long time. And yes, he really came to my house, my parents' house, at that time period when I look back on it, because it's like at the time, what was going on with my family and my dad was a bad time. So when Miles showed up for drugs, I didn't even want to know who he was. And so it's weird. It's like, yeah, that really was Miles Davis with these other people. They were just there briefly, but I couldn't appreciate it at the time because of what was going on, which, it's resurfaced, because I wanted to remember more about that. And that's why things were bad at that time in the Higgins household. When John Coltrane came by, that was a whole different story. In a silent way. Let's talk about ambient jazz. Let's talk about ambient music. Let's talk about someone being on the cutting edge of change in music. This is ambient. And beautiful. I love this album. And the way that Tio Macero edited these tracks to make them what they become on here, brilliant. Some of my favorite music here I'm showing y'all. Let's keep it going. So I pulled them all of my Lenny White that I'm this is all I have. The one that I like the most out of his solo albums is this one, Big City. A little bit of ring wear because this one, at the time, did a lot of traveling, a lot of partying. 1966, 67. I graduated. Pardon me. I know that. I'm sorry. Graduated high school in 1973, and that whole period was just wild in my life. You know, a lot of changes, but the music was killer. And this is a great album. Both sides, all tracks. Everyone's playing their butts off on this, and the compositions are really good. The next one next to it, either before it or after it, Venusian Summer. This is really good too. This one, Streamline. It's like he found a new way to do his sound, because this is really good. It's even more rock than those other albums. It's really good. Streamline is a good name for this album. Streamline. I think Lenny White was onto something, and Lenny White is on Bitches Brew. A lot of people don't realize that. Lenny White was one of the drummers on Miles Davis' Bitches Brew. And this, co-produced by Al Cooper of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and the organ player on Bob Dylan's record, Astral Pirates. You know, Lenny made it real clear that he was shooting for mainstream success and that he wanted to cross over into a rock audience. And the records were worth it. Let's keep going. Okay. So, related to that, because of Mahavishnu Orchestra, which are all there, I didn't pull them because I can just grab them, they're right there, is the music of Jan Hammer and Jerry Goodman. Now, their first outing after leaving Mahavishnu was this album, Like Children, which is a mixed affair, but I love this album, to be frank with you. I love this album. The vocal tracks are misses. They could have done without trying to sing, but overall, this is really good, and it shows how versatile Jan Hammer was as a musician. He plays drums. He's a great drummer. Funky as hell on this album. I like this album a lot. And then the next thing that Jan Hammer did, I've shown this recently, is just, again, one of my Desert Island favorites, The First 7 Days. This is so beautiful. Wonderful album. And then the Jan Hammer group. Oh yeah, I saw them. They were Jeff Beck's group for a time. So I saw them when they toured together. Great show. This is a good album. Again, the attempts to vocalize and cross over into rock music with vocals, from my ears, were failures. It's the music and the playing. Like the last track on this album is called Red and Orange, and it's a burner. I could almost hear John McLaughlin playing it in Mahavishnu. And from there, things just continue to, in my opinion, go downhill because they're chasing that money. But I have the records, melodies, because again, Jan Hammer, great pianist, writer with a deep history. I think he started with Sarah Vaughan. So you hear that throughout these records where he's good, but he's like chasing money. And this is a good example of that. It's like, well, this is almost like throwaway. But he got himself onto Asylum Records, David Geffen's label. So you know he got an advance. Black Sheep. I don't even remember this because it's just, I know this is lousy. But it's in the collection. And I grabbed it just since they were all together. The early years, Jan Hammer. And then I have this. It's a old style bootleg. I don't have very many bootlegs, but here's one. It's the Jan Hammer Group featuring Jeff Beck, 1976, and I added a picture of my own. The recording quality is poor, but I came across it somehow, probably very cheaply, and got it. Let's keep going. So I need to do this. Get at least one. Okay. So when John McLaughlin started Mahavishnu Orchestra, game changer, like I've said about Miles Davis, Birds of Fire, their second album. This is a classic. Another album that is in many ways very, very perfect. Fantastic. So what I want to make the connection in that when Chick Corea started Return to Forever, it sounded to me like a cartoon version of Mahavishnu. It really did. And as I listened to it, it came into focus. Well, this is their interpretation. What McLaughlin was doing with Mahavishnu was so far ahead of everyone, nobody could catch him. But this was really, I love this album, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. It was totally inspired by Mahavishnu. And this is a great album. Bill Connors on guitar. And then the next one, I think this is actually better. Well, I think the concept matured between the first and this album. Where Have I Known You Before? Great playing. Great playing. And then it was over, as far as I'm concerned, on this one. No mystery. It's okay. But this was a breakthrough commercially, and for good reason. Romantic Warrior. The way the album starts all the way through to the end, they got the zeitgeist right, or whatever the word is. They got it right on this album, and I'm so glad I got to see this album, this performed live. They were very excited by this album, by this music, by the way. I remember parts of the conversation with Al Di Meola in particular. When we were drinking at the bar, Lenny White was basically mobbed. People were talking to Al too, but Lenny was the deal. So I was able to talk to Al a little bit more. A few more, okay? Because so everyone knows this album, right? Everyone has this album, right? Being slightly silly, but I bet I'm close to it. And I bet that most of these records I'm showing are in a lot of your collections. If you collect this sort of thing, these are records that you all own, right? Like this one, Spectrum, Billy Cobham's Spectrum. Again, one of those records where it's like the first time you hear it, it's like, whoa, it's like, wow. Amazing drummer. Tommy Bolin on this album. Leland Sklar. I'd love to show off the picture of me and Leland Sklar on Facebook, because when I met him when he was touring with Judith Owen, opening for Brian Ferry, they did a meet and greet, and Leland is very friendly, loves people. But I love the fact that when I talked to him, because he was being assaulted by all kinds of people, he picked up right away. You're a bass brother. Yes, I am. I love it. So that Billy Cobham first album, and then I met Tommy Bolin too early on. And I love to share these things, because these are the little perks about music for me personally. So I met Tommy Bolin when I was still a teenager, and he was very nice. He was on speed, but he was, with his band Tommy Bolin and Energy, very nice. But he's from Sioux City, which is just up the road from Omaha. So when RAF would play in Sioux City, Johnny Bolin, Tommy Bolin's brother, became a huge fan of the band and me. And whenever we would play in Sioux City, we played up there several times. He'd come out. And a couple times he was pretty kind of rowdy, kind of drunk, but, really fun. Johnny Bowen's in the house, He's up there, he's just a regular, person, but it was a big deal to us. I can say us, that I remember was a big deal to me. But to get back to these records, the second Billy Cobham solo album is again one of my favorites. I think this album, particularly side one, is ideal. Crosswinds, fantastic. The up-tempo as well as the contemplative moody, the Spanish Moss, Savannah the Serene. Oh God, this album I think is just fantastic. It's one of my favorites again. It's one that I wore out, and someone surprisingly sent me a replacement copy, and this is it. Highly recommend this album if you've never heard this album by Billy Cobham. Everyone knows Spectrum with Crosswind. Now here's another one directly related to that group of musicians, the Herbie Hancock group. This is a reissue. My brother had the original cover, which is better, but Norman Connors, who he definitely crossed over into R&B success, but he's a drummer. Norman Connors, Dance of Magic. Look at the lineup, and this is a banger. This is not I'll get my famous friends to play for me. This is right along there with the Mwandishi, the Eddie Hendersons. This album, I can hear it as I'm talking about it. I'm enthusing because this album is so good. It's the Herbie Hancock group with Norman on drums. This album is killer. Dance of Magic is a sidelong 21-minute tour de force. If you've never heard this, shit. So they did Dance of Magic, and they did Dark of Light. That amazing group of musicians. So I have two copies of this. This is the first edition of it. And some of you folks who watch me who are soul music collectors, y'all can talk about Norman Connors' hits, because he had some hits. But here's the reissue of Dark of Light. This might be easier to find. It's been so long since I played this. Yep, it's on Buddha. Amazing, amazing. I highly recommend this. And I talked about this before. Bennie Maupin from the Herbie Hancock Mwandishi group, he was also on Bitches Brew. And this is probably towards the top. I think not easily, but this goes in, if there's a top 20, this goes in the top 5. Bennie Maupin, The Jewel in the Lotus. Again, an example of beyond jazz, but ambient jazz and more. This album is just the best. Seriously. And thankfully it got reissued, because it for a long time it was hard to find and getting pricey. And I have this other Bennie Maupin solo album, Moonscapes, which is good. This one is more groove oriented, and it's very good. Very, very good. Almost done here. And then I have to mention this album. Julian Priester, the trombonist from the group. Someone made a comment where they met him and talked to him. This is so good. I have my own version. I have a cover of this that frankly is waiting for I've tried to present it to Blake to get some solos on it. Love, love. Sorry, I just the thoughts to start rushing. This is a groove. If you've never heard it, Julian Priester, Peppo, Toto, Love, Love. Amazing album. But I've recorded my own version of it. And then the one that he put out after it, not as successful, but at the same time, very notable. Julian Priester and Marine Intrusion, Polarization. Julian he took up the mantle from Miles and those guys in that he was really trying to create something new here. It partially works, and there's parts where it sounds like even the musicians on this date aren't sure of what's supposed to happen. It really sounds like that, and I've listened to this album a lot because he has some ideas here which are like, that's new, that's different. I can keep going, but I'll show one more that is inspired because I can just hear folks who like this music saying, well, what about? Chances are I have those records, and there's chances are there are some of those what about records you're thinking I would have, I might not have. For example, some of Alphonse Mouzon's records and Larry Coryell's fusion records. So. I have some, but there's a lot. I don't have everything. I'd love to have it all. Last thing I'll show from that particular group of musicians I don't see. I'm so glad that I found this years ago. Buddy Terry, Pure Dynamite on the mainstream label. There they are, including Woody Shaw and Entombed, Erto Moreira, Joanne Brackeen. This album is, again, the title is correct. This is a hidden gem. I have never seen anyone else talk about this album or Buddy Terry. This is right along these other albums. I was talking about the Norman Connors, just raving. I rave about this one if you've never heard this. Pure Dynamite. Killer. So just to wrap it up, because it's over half hour, I did play a couple of other records yesterday. Don't play records every day. But I do like that about being retired, that I can do things that I need to do, and I can just sit on my ass if I want to. I love it. So here's a techno single that I found years ago that I think is exceptional. Super Flu. Edlich is the name of this. There's several remixes of the track. I think this is killer. Super Flu. Love it. And then this got spun all the way. My most recent addition to my Moor Mother collection, and this is strong. Black Encyclopedia of the Air. A lot of people don't want to hear what this woman is saying. This is so strong. So informed. I love this vinyl. So direct in expressing ongoing outrage over systemic racism and injustice. Don't nobody want to hear about it. She'll never be, well, because of that, she won't be crossing over into the big time. The boy is this good. And boy is this relevant. It's something I gotta say, it's relevant. Okay. So, it's Friday, new release day. The Gentle Giant Playing the Fool has been reissued, 3-record set. I'd love to get a copy. I'll find out if they even get one in Omaha. I'm not into ordering online, and I only do that every now and then. Every now and then I'll break down and have a spate of ordering records online. I just don't like to. So I do miss out on stuff as a result. I hope that the Gentle Giant comes through. I obviously have the original. Okay. It's Friday. I'll probably take this weekend off. Take care.